Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm going to branch out a little bit here today and do something a little different than I've been doing lately. I just picked this up at a local Murdoch's here in town a couple days ago, and I thought I would give it a try here and show you what the results are. First of all, this is a revolving punch. It's a leather punch made by General Tools and Instruments. They're out of New York and Montreal, it appears. This cost me under $10. I want to say it was $9.67. And the main reason I bought it, the main reason I needed a leather punch, I don't do any serious leather work of any sort, but I have a handful of belts that could use a few extra holes further in, as you can see. This was actually a belt that was my father's. I have it now. It's a nice leather belt. It's kind of older and beat up, but it's still in perfectly good shape, and there's no reason to go out and buy a new belt when the leather is still absolutely good and supple, and I don't really need to pay 10 bucks or more to have somebody else do it for me, I don't think. So I'm going to give this a whirl today. Give this a try, see how it goes. Before I even break it out of the packaging, I think I'm going to go ahead and make my marks here. These holes are 1 inch on center, so I'm just going to make pencil marks here for where I want the punch holes to go. And they may be hard to see on the video, but I can see them all right here, so you'll still see what I'm doing and where my holes end up being made. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this open. Again, I picked this up at Murdoch's the other day. General Tools and Instruments revolving punch, under $10. And it has, as you can see, because it's a revolving punch, it has 6 different sizes of punch that you can use. So let's get this guy out of here. And let's go to town. Now, one thing that should be obvious is, to anybody really doing this, is that you can't undo holes that you've already made. So you do want to be fairly careful about things like this and think about what you're doing. Obviously, if this is being viewed by anyone who does leather work, you've known this for a very long time. But for somebody else who's just kind of doing what I'm doing and maybe putting new belt holes in a belt for the first time, that seems like a no-brainer, but, you know, think it through what and where you want to put them, because you can't undo them. So, having said that, I'm going to put this on. I'm going to set this for the, not the biggest, but the second biggest punch size. The biggest actually would seem to mesh with the belt hole sizes, belt loops that I've got here, but I want to have a little room for those to grow. Alright, so fast forwarding ahead here, I've now gone ahead and punched 2 new belt holes into this belt that I got from my father. Again, measured to the center measurement that the previous holes were punched at in manufacturing, 1 inch spacing there, which is pretty typical for a belt loop. And this punch seems to have done a very nice job. As you can see, I'm no pro, and there's a bit of roughness in each hole, and I can probably clean that out fairly easily. But the punch itself did a fine job. I went on either side of the center mark and cut out a belt, roughly a belt-shaped loop hole in each one of those. And that's the finished product. Again, as I said, you can see that there's a little touching up that needs to be done, but nothing substantial. They've come out quite nicely, and I'm sure with a little bit of wear, they will look more or less like the others. And even if they don't, who's going to see them? They're really so subtle, so small. This leather punch, revolving punch from General, has done a very nice job. Again, I think it was $9.67 at Murdoch's, and it may well have paid for itself already just in punching these couple of holes here. And I have a number of other belts and pieces of leather that could at some point need that. So now I have the tool for the job, and I would strongly recommend one of these for somebody who's thinking along such lines. Obviously, if you have done leather work before, you probably already have one of these and none of this is news to you. But if, like me, you simply have a couple of items that need a little fixing, a little altering to be more functional, this is a very viable option. Of course, taking it to a leather tooling shop would be a more polished end product. But again, who's going to know? Who's going to look that carefully at belt loopholes? So, all in all, very positive experience here. I would give this punch very high marks. And simple, easy, quick, cheap way to revitalize some old materials. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.